Oh, has it got to be on a different TV channel? AV1.
Ted's not here. Marco's not here.
Oh, but we have a quorum.
Greg be here?
His son is sick, so he would have been here if his son was sick.
How are you?
What happened to my kid, my 11-year-old? He's had like this rash.
Oh my God. It's always,
Oh, it could last
well,
like a
Christiana
year.
drinking.
Oh, but he got developed a small infection. He doesn't say, he's like partly autistic, so he doesn't say anything. His leg was hurting, so my wife looked at it and it's like small. So I took him to the doctors yesterday. It's going down.
Yeah.
But he can't go to school for a couple of days. It's not contagious.
It's really people need to get it.
Yeah, I don't want to get it.
One more time. It's like, oh, come on.
Just call him and see him for going.
And she's going to drive home Tuesday. She didn't want to drive him Wednesday because it was crazy.
So I just texted him. Can you see this?
So I'm like, just take the boy. Just
Katie, I saw you waving for 5 minutes.
I know, right?
So,
FaceTime me around noon.
well, we did. We it's not well. We already
Did the fire department do a Christmas tree for the Lions?
I don't know if they do or not.
Are we on?
Yeah, you guys are on.
Okay.
Well, no, hers is
The man says we're on, so while he's fixing that.
My family does the same thing.
Yeah, it's like,
All right, well, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:33. Can we have a roll call, please?
Kay Knudsen.
Here.
Doug Thompson.
Here.
Richard Anthony.
here.
Anybody here from Ted?
I have not.
Okay. Margot?
I have not.
Okay. David Gurns.
Here.
Liz Costa.
Here.
John Sherman is excused. Jada Roche.
Here.
Yep.
And thank you if everyone's staying for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. You all were emailed the minutes, but you also have a hard copy. So once you've had a chance to look over that, I'll be seeking a motion to approve. Thank you.
Just didn't say it aloud. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion made by Doug, seconded by Liz. Any discussion on the November 7th meeting minutes? All those four say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? and abstained, 600. And there is no one here for public-related comment. So our first budget that we're going to get into is the patriotic and cultural one. The 2023 actual was 23,350. Oh, I'm sorry. The actual was year-to-date is $23,354.38. The Board of Selectmen approved for 2024 $40,600, which was an increase of $17,245.62. But the Old Home Day Committee had come to them because it's a big year for Plastow. It's the 275th anniversary. And it's also going to be, instead of just one day, it's over a couple days. So the Old Home Day Committee had actually come and asked for $67,000, but I believe they landed on $40,600 because there's going to be some talks about possibly some other donations. Is that about correct, Jay?
Yeah, we discussed possibly looking into Republic. They've offered in the past to put money towards public events. So we've reached out to a couple areas there to try to close that gap of getting them to that number that they originally requested. There is $10,000 in the Old Home Day Trust Fund that they'll be able to use. So with this, the 40, with the 10, that will give them 50. And then if we can try to work with some of these partners like Republic or possibly the Beatty Group, maybe we can close that gap and get them closer to what they need to pull the whole day off. So other than that, they do have the ability to work with outside organizations to do some fundraising as well. So.
Any questions on the patriotic and cultural budget?
One thing I will say about the Old Home Day Committee is that they worked very hard to try to bring this together. There's only 6 of them. So if the general public is watching and you want to get involved to help make the day a success, please reach out to the Old Home Day Committee, call the town hall, and they'll put you in touch with somebody. Many hands makes little work. So if we can get more people to help out, that would be great. So
It is a good group. They do a good job.
So what did they ask for? The Old Homes Day? I mean, how much are they saying it's going to cost before they're able to kind of?
So what they would like to have pulled off was probably 67. So that would include a Thursday night evening activity with lots of games for children and families. And then Friday night would be a dinner on the town green.
Which I think they were going to sell tickets to that.
Right, and they're looking at selling tickets for that to try to offset the cost. But it's gross budgeting, so we need to appropriate for that. So we are looking into whether a revolving fund might possibly be used, and that could reduce that number. But so Friday would be a dinner, probably with music, possibly. And then Saturday would be more of an enhanced Old Home Day, like the regular Old Home Day. The parade will probably be larger, a little more in the fireworks. And then Sunday it's not part of Old Home Day specifically, but there is another event going on in town to help celebrate the Lions' 75th anniversary on the Terra Farms property. But that's outside of Old Home Day. So, but it would be a 3-day Old Home Day event with the 4th day open to the public as well.
Any other questions about the patriotic/cultural budget?
So they raised. I mean, there's 10,000 in the Old Homes Day Trust.
Correct. So what that money is it's donations that are taken in.
Yeah.
So when we take in money as revenue, it goes into the general fund, right? Even donations. So it would be put to the general fund, and then we earmark it to put into the trust fund. So that's why there's a warrant article every year, the past couple of years, where we're putting in,
But there's 10,000, you're saying there's 10,000 in there right now?
correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're asking for the 40,600 plus that 10, correct?
The 10 is available, yes.
And then plus they're trying to look for possible,
Yeah, we're working on trying to close the gap between now and,
I mean, have they fundraised before? I guess, is there any thing to benchmark what their fundraising would look like when
In
you
the
say
past,
close the gap?
So in the past, fundraising has looked like it's folks from the historical society had fundraisers, like they did a book, like a program with local businesses in it, and they raised, I think, $5,000 that was given back to the town to go into that trust fund to go towards Old Home Day. The fees for the vendors are going into this trust fund as well to help pay for next year. And any other donations that are sent to the town would be earmarked to go into that trust fund to be used for Old Home Day.
Do we know if they've reached out to PACE or Southern New Hampshire Chamber
I don't
of
think they've
Commerce?
gotten to that point yet to start fundraising.
I know Pace has a very limited budget and all their funds go to scholarships. There's almost no, I mean, Krista can speak to that too. Pace has almost no additional
They
funding.
don't have a lot of additional funds.
Well, I know,
They-
but in terms of fundraising, from
I know-
PACE members, like,
Right, but last year, the Lions Club did a meat raffle and the proceeds were donated towards paying for something in the parade for last year. Friends of Rec was involved in doing some fundraising as well. So there are groups that are helping. And, at this point, I would think they're going to reach out again to try to help with some of that fundraising, so. I'll make a motion to approve the patriotic cultural budget for $40,600.
thank you. I have a motion by Jay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Liz. Is there any other discussion on the patriarch budget? Liz, yeah.
This also goes for like Veterans Day, the 9/11, and all of the Memorial Day stuff
Yeah,
as well.
that's, so the patriotic purposes
Mhm.
line,
$600.
Yep.
$600.
All right.
I think there's a small line in the executive budget that helps pay for those types of events too.
Okay, I think I saw that.
now, the line item here for the Historical Society, that looks like that's zeroed out and you're pushing it to a warrant article.
Correct.
Now,
So the Historical Society came to the selectmen to ask us to help fund them. So they are a 501c3 organization. So typically how the town handles that when we do that through human services budgets is that we'll have them go out to a warrant article. Once it's approved, then it will be rolled into the operating budget after that. So that line will probably be there next year, depending on the outcome of the warrant article.
now, were they originally being funded, was the arrangement on Old Homes Day for some sort of impact fees or something like that that would go to the Historical Society?
Well, originally, they would get the vendor fees.
Okay.
So years back, when vendor fees were collected, they were made directly out to the Historical Society. The
And so
checks
then,
were,
are they getting that now, or?
no,
Okay.
because of how we're collecting it. How we collect it now is it's all going into the general fund, right? And we're putting those funds back into the trust fund to be used for the next year.
So I guess that just begs the next question then. Do we know how much, let's say, was, from the last vendor fees?
Vendor fees are anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500. Depending on the number of vendors you're going to have for the day. I think I'm not, I don't know how much exactly it is they charge. It's $50, $60, $70 per vendor, somewhere in that range.
And did the Old Homes Day Committee present something in the way of a prospective breakdown of what the costs would be, other than just saying they think it would be
Yes,
around
they
60?
came with a breakdown of the budget and what the parade was going to cost, what the dinner was going to cost, what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, what the breakdown of those events were going to cost.
So where's the lion's share of that coming from then? I would assume that Thursday is, it's the middle of the week and you're not going to see, that's not where the majority of the
Well,
money
it'd be
is
like a
going.
Thursday evening type of thing, so it'd be similar to like the concerts on the green. It'd be a Thursday night for lots of kids' activities that night, parent activities, stuff like that. And then the lion's share of the budget is for probably the parade, the dinner, fireworks, the activities on the green on Saturday, rock wall, bouncy house, not bouncy houses, but inflatables.
So did they actually ask for 25,000 and then the selectmen approved, for $15,000 more?
No, they didn't. We
No.
hadn't gotten their request until they came to the selectmen 2 meetings ago. So we had put in 25,000 as a placeholder,
Okay.
but we knew it was probably going to be more just because of the anniversary itself, 275. So
Any other discussion on the patriotic/cultural budget? All right. There's been a motion made and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed
Nay.
and abstained. 5-1-0. Next is our water department. 2023 budget was $494,090. Requested and approved by Board of Selectmen was $520,014, which is an increase of $25,924. It looks like that came from the line item with the purchase of the water. Is the purchase of the water, is that related to how many people or things we have hooked up to the water supply and how much they're taking in? Is that what that's related to?
The purchase of the water is capacity per day.
Okay.
So
How much
it's,
is being used?
right, there are, when we started the whole program, there were certain dates where we had to buy up capacity at a specific rate. And if we didn't by then, we lost out on that ability to purchase. And then, so if we, let's just say 100,000, right? So say our capacity per day is 100,000 gallons a day. If we didn't buy capacity to increase that to say 200,000 a day, and we went over that 100,000, we'd be penalized from, so we'd have to buy up, right? So we purchased what we can at this point. 300,000 a day, something like that. So I think right now we're pushing 20 to 30,000 a day gallons. So we're nowhere near that capacity yet, but as the system grows, we will get to that point. We're looking at right now, Pennachuck is looking to hook up Culver Street and, or is it Twin Ridge and Partridge Lane. So that will add additional capacity there. So that will, I think it will basically double our capacity right
And
now.
you said when you purchase water, there's certain dates of like, hey, like if you need more, like, hey, this is the date.
Yeah, there were incentives to purchase them by certain dates, but at this point, we've met those obligations. So.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions for the water department?
In terms of the water testing, I think we're looking at water sampling analysis, line 315.
Yep.
Now, is that a one-off? I mean, I see that it was, we have 5,000. And I know that there was a question of contamination with respect to the water that we were getting in terms of a biological acid that was above certain tolerance. Is that what the bulk of that testing is?
Yeah, that was probably what that testing was for. So the increase in that level.
Is that been mitigated?
At this point, it's been mitigated, yes. It's below the level, well below the level. So all those water tests are available online at the town webpage.
Yeah, so I mean, so is it realistic then to say that to request 15,000 if it was, an event that happened and was mitigated?
Well,
Why not 5,500?
we are looking to double the capacity as well, so that would require more testing of those areas as well. Because right now, I think with the issues that we had with the elevated levels, we're testing at the tank on Sweet Hill. We're testing at the East Road Pump House, and then we're also testing the affected neighborhood where we're seeing elevated levels. So we were testing them weekly for a few months, or for a month and a half, 2
But we're
months.
not testing anymore, though.
Right now, it's gone down to our usual testing at the East Road Pump House and the tank. So that's done on a monthly basis, regardless.
So is the 5,000 sufficient to handle it when it was being done on the non-exception basis?
No.
I can't tell other than the fact that.
Yeah, I don't have the breakdown, but I don't think 5,000 would have been sufficient, even with that, with the amount of testing that's done.
I think I brought up last month that there was a certain amount of water that was purged, I think of what? I mean, must have been something like 100,000 cubic feet per day at one point when we were purging who were we approaching to see if we could get reimbursed for,
So
or at
that
least claw
was-
back some of that?
That was going back to the state to get assistance for that, to see if we could get that covered because of the issues we're having as we brought the system up online. So I can find out more information on that to see where we are with that.
Yeah, just in terms of how much, was purged and how much, we're realistically looking at, whatever the dollar value was of that.
Yeah. I don't have that in front of me. So let me find that out.
Anybody else have any other questions about the water department budget? Someone want to make a motion?
Is it self-sustaining yet? I mean, the whole purpose of the water budget was that it was supposed to be self-sustaining at
Yes.
some point, and revenue coming in, covering the costs and such like that.
Yes.
Is it self-sustaining now?
Yes. So that's, the water department budget is only for, this doesn't impact the taxpayers in general. It impacts the taxpayers who are subscribers to the water. So that's it. So whoever the subscribers are, their fees pay this budget.
So the proposed budget of $520,000, you're saying would be covered by realistically the revenue that's,
The revenue that's generated, yes. And if there's surplus, the surplus will be put towards future expansion of the system to the rest of the town.
I mean, I would like to, I mean, just, if you're saying that the amount of revenue coming in over 2023, I mean, for 2023 would cover that. I think just from a budgeting perspective, I'd like to at least see, a breakdown of that revenue that's, we're saying is covering the cost of that department.
I think on the revenue sheet, that was, didn't Greg hand out a revenue sheet last meeting? Was that on there? If not, I can get the breakdown. That's easy.
I think I have it.
If it's not on there, we can get it.
Any other questions about the water department? Does someone want to make a motion to approve the water department's budget for $520,014? Motion made by Mr. Gerns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Doug. Is there any other discussion on the water department budget? Seeing that there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed and abstained. 6-0. Okay. So we'll get those two. Did you have the revenue sheet for that?
No, I don't,
Okay,
actually.
so we can get that.
I mean, does anyone else have a
I don't have it.
revenue sheet that shows that the revenue is greater than $540,000?
The water is not on here that I can see.
It's not on there.
So we'll get the breakdown.
We'll get that.
Okay. We do have elections on the budgets, but watching the Board of Selectmen meeting the other day, it seems like the state is meeting the week of December 11th to possibly make a choice on the voting machines. And if that's the case and they make a choice, then the Board of Selectmen are going to be meeting on the 18th for next week.
Yep.
And if that's the case, then we can, if they buy it out of this year's funds, then we don't have to put the $12,000 in to next year's. budget. So we're going to hold off and see what the state does, because then that will determine what we do next. Does anybody have any questions about the election? I know we don't have any budgets in front of us, but it was really the only big item was the machines. Right. So new business, well, / old business. So there was some information about the police department, about the tower. In your packets, you have a picture of one of the welds for the tower. There's a question about, one, why is it not safe to climb? And then two, what's the game plan to fix it for the future? So this was a email that was received by Two Way Radio Service, which is the company that does all the radios as well as looks at servicing the radio tower. And I think they're helping the police department, fire department with fixing and enhancing things. I'm just going to read it. It says, Chuck Palmer, this is from Jay Corso, which is the service coordinator. Chuck Palmer gave me this photo, which is the photo that you've been handed in your packet.
Can I see it?
Yep. Sorry, I thought I gave you. Photo of one of the several cracked welds on the tower. We don't have other photos because we aren't the ones who got up that high. Only licensed climbers are allowed. It's not in the PM reports, but it has been addressed with prior chiefs. This was also including with Chief Kane when he was here a little bit. And other town council. I've attached an invoice of when climbers demanded a man lift because they wouldn't climb on a tower with cracked welds. Welding was also brought up by a prior chief, but that deemed to be an insufficient solution. So these cracks are the reason why, from what I've been told, is that there's not just this one crack, but it's several cracks, and they're significant cracks. So that's when the police chief stated about the needing the lift. The plan is that tower is really old, and as from this email, welding those cracks is not an option. So either now they're going to look at what they're going to do as far as that tower can be replaced in sections or just completely. So until that is fixed, they're going to continue to use the lift until they get it fixed where it's safe to actually be able to climb, and then they wouldn't have to have time for the lift.
Who said that welding is not a solution?
In the email, it does not say who had said it wasn't. All it said is that welding was brought up by a prior chief, but that deemed to be an insufficient solution. I don't know why they say it was an insufficient solution, but someone has deemed it was an insufficient solution.
Makes a difference if it's an aluminum tower or
Right.
a steel tower.
Right.
If it's an aluminum tower, welding won't work.
Right.
Is it an aluminum tower?
No one knows. All I know is that this tower is really, really old. So they are going to fix it. It's just what course of action they take to fix it. But in the meantime, this is what they're doing and why.
Frankly, taking it and trying to fix it, if they could weld it, they would probably have to disassemble it, do the welding on the ground and rehang the tower.
Right.
And the cost of all that labor would probably be much different than a new one.
Right.
I don't know. It seems to me you put that out to bid, have someone just quote, what it would cost to fix it, right? I mean, that's usually what you would do.
Well, that's
You wouldn't just
that's
say,
their
I mean, I don't.
that's on their operation side on how they get it done. This is just what was talking about the cost and why they're doing it the way they're doing it now.
And that's still to be determined. We need to study this and find out. So right now we have to put the money in there to maintain the lift until we can come up with a solution on whether we're going to replace it, how much that's going to cost, how we're going to pay for it. Is there going to be a warrant article for it potentially? I'd probably
No one knows.
not this year, but that's something we're still working through at this point.
I don't know. I'm just going to put it out there in terms of asking for an explanation about something. If it's de minimis, that's fine. All right. But if there's, there are numerous cracks. How many cracks? Okay. Is it aluminum or not? Has it been a study? Somebody said that it can't be fixed or something. A previous police chief. Which police chief? I mean,
Chief Kane.
You said previous police chief.
Chief Kane.
Okay.
Yeah, Chief Kane.
Previous, okay, so.
He was the previous police chief before our current one that we have now.
Does it say Chief Kane or does it say a previous police chief?
So what it says is it's not in the PM reports, but it has been addressed with prior chiefs and in parentheses, Kane included. And I'm assuming that has to do with the fire chief as well, because he's also in there with the communications.
Yeah, I would think there, just, it's nice that there's anecdotal information, but I think it should be, because the safety complex has sort of I think we can agree that there's sort of a storied past with respect to certain, when things are being built, are they built to specifications? Are they not built to specifications? And then we seem to be doing a lot of post-construction cleanup or something like that. But you're aware of that, right? I mean, you're looking at me. You're looking at me quizzically as if you have a question. Do you have a question about that?
What wasn't built correctly?
Oh, well, are we potentially talking about a roof that needs to be fixed at some point?
The existing roof that wasn't replaced as part of
No, that was fixed, and then it wasn't done adequately, and we're
Right.
probably going to
So
talk
the
about
original
wanting-
roof was fixed as part of as part of that whole project to do the safety complex. They went in, and whoever was hired at that time went in and fixed it. So we're looking at fixing it again because it wasn't done properly. So that's being done. Also, what was cut out of the original, I think it was $13 million when the original plan was done, was not to replace the leach fields, because at the time, the capacity was negligible. Well, since then, we've had a failure. So we're looking at replacing the leach fields now. At the time, the decision was made not to replace them. I can't go back and fix that. So now we're dealing with the hand that we have. And now we have to figure out how to fix it and pay for it.
And to this tower has been there since before the safety complex and when its new addition and everything was put on. So this tower has been there for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So it's not going back and fixing something that was done wrong. It's just, it's been there for a really long time. And it's to the point now that it needs to be replaced or fixed or whatever they're going to do with it. It has nothing to do that it was put in improperly. It's just old.
No, it's just that if you're saying it needs to be fixed, the answer shouldn't be sort of an anecdote that somebody back in the day said something, they looked at it, maybe.
But we're looking to actually address the issue, whether it's we need to put money in there to maintain it while we have it, but we're actually looking to.
Can I just stop a second?
Sure.
Now,
Yeah,
we have a fiduciary responsibility to ask these sorts of questions, all right? It is not beyond the realm of the fiduciary responsibility to say that if something's broken, all right, and someone's evaluating it, somebody eyeballing it or a previous chief eyeballing it, I would think that somebody would have a certified professional or something to provide some sort of, okay.
Licensed
I guess I'm
climber.
done talking, right?
Well, you interrupt me, so I figured just status quo.
No, you're sitting there making faces.
No, honestly, this is just my face. I can't help it.
Okay, well, we can look at the tape. You're just making faces while I'm asking questions that you should be probably asking yourself.
No, I unfortunately, Mr. Anthony, I do go back. I ask questions. Honestly, for me,
What questions have you
this is
asked?
good enough.
This is a public hearing. Maybe the public wants to hear the questions that you asked.
I asked, what is the plan for the tower? Was it deemed unsafe? They went back, they looked through all these emails. This is what it got. A certified licensed climbers, which are the only ones allowed to climb, said, hey, this is a crack. There's multiple like them. I'm not climbing this. I mean, if you want me to go specific and ask.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like one, if it's one
I thought we
one
weren't
crack,
interrupting each other, sir.
you just ask the question and I'm
No, I
answering.
was still talking.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I am telling you. If there's
well,
one crack, that's meaningful. If there's more than one crack, that's meaningful. If it's aluminum, that's meaningful. If it's metal, that's meaningful.
Well, so what they said is that
Okay.
currently, with the structure that it's in the condition that it's in, they can't climb it. And that, like what Mr. DeRoche just said, they're going to do a study to figure out, are they going to weld it? Are they going to replace it? Whatever.
Is it
They've not,
repairable?
yeah, they've not done that yet. So I can't report on something they've not done yet.
Study yet.
They've not completed the study yet. So this is what they're asking for.
When are they doing the
This is-
study?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't have an answer for that at the moment.
What's that?
I don't have an answer for that at the
Okay.
moment. I can find out when the
Yeah,
ball
I
will
guess-
get rolling on that.
Yeah, I guess we can add that to,
The issue for me is, this is twofold. You've got to be able to do maintenance on your antennas.
Right.
And you can't do it the normal way of climbing because of the damage to the tower. So we've got to spend the money to have those guys do the maintenance on the antennas. On a parallels path, we need to get on SIP, on the CIP, even just a ballpark number or planning purposes to plop that, to get that in, which will buy time to do the necessary research for the replacement. I'm saying, well, they should have known if it was broken. Well, I got the feeling from my past experience that they inspect that tower at least annually. Somebody goes, either climbs it or put it in, and they check the status of it. And because it is a 30-year tower, self-supporting, which is much more stressful than a guide tower, it's very important that they follow the rule. And if the guy says, I can't climb this thing because it's unsafe, then that's it. And that's a fact of life. We have to, and saying, well, we ought to do this, we ought to do that. I wouldn't want to spend money on patching this thing. I think that's not good stewardship. And so we just need to plan to buy a new one. 2 years down the road, but it's got to be done. And in the meantime, we've got a budget to have somebody go up with a truck and a bucket and do the necessary maintenance on the antennas. That's just the facts. And, asking, well, what if they did that? Wouldn't matter, because what if they suppose they found a crack 5 years ago and they're on the top 10 feet, okay? And didn't report it, then that's something that we need to fix with the vendor. But I don't see anything in here that says that the vendor didn't do his job. I don't see any report, I've heard anything that anybody just didn't do it. It's just, as you say, it's a 35-year tower and self-supporting tower that is structurally challenged, particularly when it's attached to a building roof as opposed to ground mounted.
Correct. I mean, that's just the point that we're at right now. So,
is it inspected annually?
yes, I believe they do.
So is there a report somewhere?
I'm sure they keep records somewhere
That's why we're,
doing this.
I mean, how many
we're at.
cracks?
Why we're here where we're here.
that's why we're
Well, no, we
here.
have a picture of one crack. I mean, is that the inspection? Like there's a crack?
I will find out. I'm sure there's an inspection report.
Okay.
If we're doing it annually, there should be a report on an inspection, so.
That's it for the tower. For the recreation, there was questions about the line item about 5 homes for the electrical for pumping of water. I got a response back from Mr. Colby. He goes, with regards to the electricity line item in the recreation budget, I have been able to ascertain the following. Previously, due to potential contaminations from the landfill and/or highway salt shed, at least 2 wells were deemed unsafe. The solution was to create a public water system using the well at Park. The well was determined to have enough capacity to handle the needs of 2 households. The 5 is a typo in the budget explanation and the concession stand/bathrooms. The explanation is to provide more context should someone question why such a high electricity bill for seasonal usage. The usage is due to keeping the pumps going year-round. And that is the answer that I have for the, so it's 2 homes, it's not 5 homes, and it's due to contamination from the salt shed. Warrant articles. I don't think we have any, correct?
We do not. We looked at an initial list last night of just taking the previous year's warrant articles, moving them over, picking out what we probably wouldn't put forward. We didn't have numbers in them at all yet, so we're still working on the numbers. The CIP, we had a CIP meeting last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago. And we only really discussed the highway portion.
Okay.
So we haven't seen the full CIP report yet. Once we see that, then we'll have a better understanding of what the dollar amounts would be recommended by the CIP committee. It's really at the discretion of the board what those amounts are. So we're hoping, I think the next meeting is December 14th. So hoping we'll have
For the CIP to
the
meet?
CIP, and I believe that the selectmen will be meeting after that on the 18th. And maybe we'll have it be in a better place.
Speaking of CIP, we have one person, Anthony. John Sherman was the other person.
Not to quibble, but my name is Richard Anthony, okay? You've referred to me as Anthony since the beginning of time here, so.
Oh, okay, Mr. Anthony. So Mr. Anthony is on the CIP committee, and the other person that we had was John Sherman, but John Sherman has been recovering. So we do need one more person from this committee to be able to, okay, so we
I'll do
get,
it.
Liz will be the second person, and then do we have maybe one more person who would be an alternate?
I can do that.
Okay, Mr. Gerns is the alternate, cool. All right. Do we have any other business at this time?
Just for a record, there's no, I mean, if you're talking about a tower, CIP account or whatever, there's nothing contemplated, in front of the CIP committee about a tower, or any information about a tower, or any inspections on a tower, or projected cost to repair a tower
That
versus
hasn't,
to replace a
because it
tower.
hasn't been submitted to the CIP yet,
Okay, well,
so. And
is there
I would
anything
think at
else
this
that the-
point in time, they don't really have an idea on how much it's going to cost. So that's why we're looking.
Yeah.
But if we put it into the CIP, we at least have a placeholder for it. Maybe the amount isn't accurate, but it's a number to start shooting at. And then the CIP is a living document. So, payments can be pushed in and out. As you know, you've been on the committee, you know how the CIP works. So it doesn't mandate what we put in for warrant articles. It's a recommendation on how do we fund our capital expenses where it's less impactful to the taxpayer rather than buying a $1.4 million ladder truck in 1 year, putting money away when we're going to buy it 30 years from now. Or replace it in 30 years,
I mean, just to that point, I mean, again, I understand the line, if you back out all, let's say what you propose to do with the ambulance service, that we're looking at a budget that's, roughly in the ballpark of a 3% increase if you take those major items out. But, a lot of these CIP items are warrant articles. It's just, you're again looking at double-digit increases, even though the school budget's probably is the major driver on that. But I mean, using the logic of, it's just deaf by each little argument that, oh, this is necessary, it's necessary, it's necessary. Look, now we have a double-digit budget. So, I would actually seriously consider re-examining the budget items and everything that's not contractually obligated increase, and it's not something, let's say, that's an ambulance service type argument, then, this should probably be at least maybe a 2% reduction just across the board on those non-contractual agreements.
Well, the budget that gets presented on town meeting is the budget committee's budget.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's just that it's, because now we're going to be looking at, whatever's going to come out of the CIP committee, in terms of warrant articles, and we're looking at, there's no way, a sane person's going to vote for, just putting these large amounts of money into these funds and stuff like that. And then we're going to be in a situation where we don't have, the monies to cover these things when it comes due. So,
Jay, when do we know what the default budget is? Usually the 1st of January there.
Probably closer to the end of the year, once you guys finalize all your work
Yeah.
with the budget.
it's going to be less, it's going to be 10% less than the current proposed budget, at least.
Possibly. I know last year was only up by a couple $100,000 at best, right? On a $10 million budget.
Yeah.
I think it was off less than 200,000 on a $10 million budget.
Yeah, but, just,
I
if
don't
you
know
take
if
that out, the default budget for this
I
year is
can't
going to
imagine
be,
it's going to be much less because the
the ambulance service
ambulance
is included
service
in it.
is something that's required that we have to provide. So that would be part of the default budget, and then any contractual increases would be in there as well.
And at the end of the day, the voter gets to determine which budget they want to pass. And I don't think the voters have ever accepted the default budget. Those that show up to vote.
Oh, okay, well, that's,
It doesn't mean we can't review the budget.
No,
I'm just saying
I'm
the default
just
budget's
saying.
not significantly different than the proposed budget.
how so? I mean, if the ambulance service is going to be the lion's share of that
I won't
increase,
know until the default budget's proposed.
I mean, so how is that going to be included in the default budget?
As Jay just explained it would be.
It's a safety issue. We're required by law to provide ambulance service, whether it's through a no-cost contract with a third-party ambulance service or whether we provide it through the town or a cost item from a third-party service.
Which the no cost is really not an option anymore.
Right.
Yes, Liz.
Are we going to be able to see what the select board's default budget is? Kind of like what the
When-
school district does when it's all set?
When it's all set, yeah,
Okay.
we'll have that breakdown.
All right. I'm kind of new to this, so
No, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, we get to see it, and I think we actually have to vote on it, don't we? Yeah.
I believe we did last year.
Yeah,
I don't think you vote on it. You have to, it has to be signed at least.
right.
Or it's on the warrant article, I think. It's on the ballot.
So we have to,
We
yeah,
discuss it at least, if nothing else.
but I think we have to approve it.
Well, you would approve or recommend the warrant article
Right.
that it's part of,
Yeah, so that's the part, yeah.
or not recommend, one or the other.
So we got the CIP, so Liz is going to be the second one, you're going to be the alternate. So looking for a next meeting date, there's nothing for us to do until after the board is, after they meet on the 18th of December. So do we want to meet on that next Tuesday, that following Tuesday, the 19th? Another date looking is the 26th, which is the day after Christmas. So whatever anybody wants to do.
Let's avoid the 26th if we can.
Yeah. So does the 19th work for everybody?
Yeah.
December 19th at 6:30? Okay. Right.
That will be posted, so as a reminder.
PM. All right.
So that's 12.
Yep. So next budget committee meeting will be 12/19 at 6:30 PM.
Thank you.
And I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 7:25 PM. Thank you, everybody.